Hello, this Explain the Movie is to help you print a number of images on one sheet for economy and speed. So we are assuming that you have a large format printer, a printer that will take up to A2 size paper. In old money that's 20 by 16 inches. That will fit easily within the dimensions of an A2 size piece of paper. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with our print sheet. So I've already created a blank file, a blank image file of the correct proportions. So if we just make, so I've already made one, but I'll show you how I made it. So we go to File, New, we want a new sheet. We want to make it, let's bring all those options into view. So we want to make it 20 inches by 16 inches. So we go over here to make it exactly the size that we want. These are other sizes that I've created in the past, some I reuse, but I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. So just to create a new blank space to put images on or create a new image, this is where we start over here. So if we go to inches, because that's the measurements we're working in, so we want the width to be 16 inches and we want the height to be 20 inches. And it's going to be printing at 300 pixels per inch and RGB colour mode 8-bit. That will be fine for regular Giclée printing. So we can then click on Create. So we've set our dimensions and we've set the resolution. So click on Create and there is a new blank JPEG waiting to be made, or any other file format that you might save it at. So that's how I made this one, and all I've done is saved it with a file name. So that's File, Save As, put the name in there, save it as a JPEG, clicked on Save. Let's just name it as temp 16 by 20 onto JPEG. We've got all those other file types, but just JPEG, so that's what we're using at the moment. Click on Save, and then it will want to know what kind of quality, and obviously we want maximum. So put it up to 12 and click OK. So if we end up saving this sheet ready to print, because we don't print it immediately, then we've got it all saved at maximum quality. So I'm going to close that one down because that was just to show you how to create a blank piece of paper, if you like, ready to put other images on to print. So we'll close that down. So this is the one that I've got ready with a sensible name on it. So let's open an 8 by 8 image. There we go. 8 by 8 at 300 pixels per inch. So this image is live. You can see it's white highlighted at the top. Do Control A to select all, Control C to copy, go over to the print sheet, Control V to paste, and there we have our 8 by 10 inch print. So we can put that into the corner and let's see what else we can fit on. So we can close that now. So if we look over here at the file information in the Layers tab, now if your Layers tab isn't appearing, you can go to Window and you will find Layers here, and it's already ticked because it's showing. But if it's not, like these other ones, let's say, I want to show you channels. If I click on channels, it's appeared off screen, I'll just drag it into view, and there's the channels tab, and I can put it into my workspace there just to keep things nice and tidy. But I don't really need channels or use channels, so I'm going to get rid of those. Just wanted to show you the process. If you couldn't see the layers tab, so that's where to find it, in window and layers. So let's open another file, another image that we want to print, and let's say the customer would like 3 5x4 prints. So this is already sized to 5x4 at 200 ppi. We can check that by going to image size, and there we go, 4 by 5 inches, 300 pixels per inch. I know it's got a fraction there, that sometimes happens when it's just the way it moves the pixels around. Sometimes it just has a little odd bit. So click OK, because that's what we wanted to see, and that's what we are expecting. So we know that if this is 300 pixels per inch and the document, the canvas that we are putting it on is also 300 pixels per inch, it will be exactly the right size. So again, click on Control A, Control C to copy, make print canvas active, and Control V, and there we go. There's one, and we can see that the new layer is just there. Now, if we want, the customer, we said, wanted 3 of these. So a simple way to do this is to see that layer is active because it's grey. This one's not active because it's dark grey. So this one's highlighted. I could change it round, and now anything that, if I wanted to move, because this is the move tool up here, if I wanted to move this one, that was the layer I have to highlight. I'm not going to be able to move this one. Oh, it has because it's intelligent clicked. So let's make 2 more copies of this layer. So there's a quick way to do that, and that is simply to use keyboard shortcut Control J, and as soon as I do that you will see another layer appear above layer 2, and it's layer 2 copy. So if I move that, see the top copy is highlighted, so I can move that to there, side by side, and the customer wanted 3, so let's create another copy. So the layer is highlighted. I'm going to do Control J once more. So we can see there we've got 3 layers, and we can just see by the tiny icon in there that it's the correct image. So let's slip that into there. So let's just see if, there we go. So maybe that little fraction is just putting that out a bit. Let's just tuck that into there. Okay, so we've now got a 20 by 16 inch canvas, or what's going to be printed onto fine art print paper, and we've got 1 10 by 8, 1 8 by 10, and we've got 3 5 by 4s there. So what else is on this print job? Right, well, we have a 5 by 5. So let's get this open. So it says it's 5 by 5 and 300 pixels per inch. That's the file name, just for convenience. So let's go to image, image size, and check. Yes, it's 5 inches by 5 inches, 200 pixels per inch. Click OK. So when we cut and paste that onto the print canvas, it's going to print perfectly at 5 inches square. So Control A, Control C to copy, click on the print canvas, Control V, and there we have the Gold Award image, and that's going to be 5 inches exactly. Now these were 5 by 4 inches, and you can see that they are the same dimension. That 5 inches is exactly the same. So because they're all on 300 pixels per inch. So let's try for an odd size. Let's see what we can do with an odd size. We've got one here. This is, let's open this one up. This is a 15 by 10. So that is a really unusual size. Again, let's go into image size, just check those dimensions. Yes, 10, 15 inches, 300. So that's going to print exactly the right size. So Control A to select, Control C to copy. Click on the print canvas, Control V to paste. Right, so this one's taking up quite a bit of space. And how much space is it going to take up? Well, it looks like we can just get this here at the bottom. But it looks like we are going to have to print this 5 by 5, it's not going to fit there, we're an inch short, and that means it'll have to wait until the next print canvas goes to print. So for the time being, we can switch that layer off and just take the eye off, and that means that we now have a canvas that is quite well filled. It might be that, well, hey, the customer wanted 3, but perhaps we can, let's use that space because that's another 5 by 4 space. We could use another copy, and we can use it as a sample, just by way of making use of that spare space rather than it just being a piece of chuck away, throw away paper. So there we have it. Let's just close this one so it's not distracting us. This one. Okay, so there we have a print canvas with a layer for each print. There's the layer for the 8 by 10. There's the first layer for these 4 5 by 4 prints, and there's the layer for that 10 by 15. So there we have it, and that is a well-used A2 stroke 20 by 16 print canvas. Not very much waste on there at all, just that slither down the side there. So then we go to print, file, print, and the Photoshop dialog box comes up. Now then, what's happening here? What's happening here is, where have all the prints gone? That's because the print settings, if you look at the print settings, it's a printer that's not a Canon printer. It doesn't take A2 paper, it only takes A4, and that's what it's showing. So it's still printing the same quality. It's still printing at 300 pixels per inch, but of course it's not printing the whole image or the whole sheet. Not possible on this printer. So this is where you go over to the other movie, the other explainer movie that demonstrates how to put the correct printer in here for the Canon printer at the hub for UK printing. So let's just close that print menu. Now then, if you can't print straight away, there's 2 things you can do. You can save this as a layered file, so you can come back to these layers and move them around again. So what we do then, we do File, Save As, and we save it as a PSD. It will automatically, by default, if there's layers in the file, it will save it as a PSD file. So it's already saved as a blank JPEG, so what we'll call it is print sheet full number 1, and we'll save that as a PSD file. There we go, saving. But if you want to save it as a JPEG ready to print, you can actually print it from the PSD, but you just have to make sure that all the layers are clicked on. I've done it before where an accidental click of the mouse and it can remove a layer, and then of course you're not going to get that space back, you've lost the space. So it is perhaps safer to make it into a JPEG file to actually print. So layer, flatten image. Now what's going to happen now is that all the layers, let's come off there, all these layers are going to be scrunched up into one image. So they'll all disappear, but you'll see here it will then look like this layout here. So layer, flatten image, so it's now compressing and flattening all those layers. Discard the hidden layers, yes. And there we go. All we've got now is all those layers as one file. But we mustn't overwrite the PSD, so let's save it immediately as a JPEG. File type JPEG. And save. And we want maximum quality. And click OK. So when we're ready to print, we can open up that print file again. So file, open recent. There's the full canvas sheet print. And if we're happy with that, we don't want to make any changes, go to file and print. And then comes up the menu. If you wanted to make some changes, then let's close that for the time being. File, open recent, and let's open the PSD file, and then we've got all our layers open again. Perhaps the lady or the customer who wanted the 15 by 10 no longer wants a 15 by 10, which means that now we can show the Gold Award and we can print that. That then gives us some waste paper, but that can be used for putting a remnants pile. Can be used for test printing when checking colours and sharpness and textures, etc. So nothing is really wasted if you're careful. So that's it. Like I said, save as a JPEG before you go to print, just as a safety measure to make sure you don't accidentally click off a layer. It can be done. So there we go. End of demonstration.